Hello and welcome back to Immigration News Today. I'm here to guide you through one of the most significant developments in U.S. immigration processing that we've seen in recent months. And if you or someone you care about is navigating the visa process right now, you need to understand exactly what's happening and what steps you can take to protect your case and your future. Today, we're talking about the pause in visa processing that's affecting applicants from 75 countries around the world. This isn't just another policy shift. This is a development that's creating real uncertainty for families waiting to reunite, professionals planning career moves, students preparing for their studies, and countless others whose lives and dreams are connected to the United States. By the end of this video, you're going to know what this pause actually means, which countries are affected, why this is happening, how long it might last, and most importantly, what concrete actions you can take right now to navigate this situation with confidence and clarity. Let me start by saying this. If you have a visa application pending or you're planning to apply, you are not alone in feeling concerned or confused. The information circulating online can be overwhelming and sometimes contradictory. My goal today is to cut through the noise and give you the facts, the context, and the practical guidance you need. I've been working in the U.S. immigration field for 6 years, and I've seen policy changes come and go, but this particular situation requires careful attention and a clear understanding of what's actually taking place versus what's being speculated about. So what exactly has happened? As of January 2025, the U.S. Department of State, which oversees consular operations and visa processing at embassies and consulates worldwide, has announced a temporary pause in routine visa processing for nationals of 75 countries. This pause affects multiple visa categories, including tourist visas, business visas, student visas, and certain employment-based visas. The Department of State has indicated that this measure is related to what they're calling enhanced security reviews and updated vetting procedures. According to official statements from the State Department, this pause is intended to allow consular officers time to implement new protocols and ensure that all visa adjudications meet current security and policy standards. Now, let me be very clear about what this does and does not mean. This is described as a temporary pause, not a permanent ban. The language from official sources emphasizes that this is a procedural measure during a transition period. However, and this is important, the Department of State has not provided a specific end date for when routine processing will resume. They've indicated that the duration will depend on how quickly the new vetting procedures can be fully integrated into consular operations. This lack of a concrete timeline is understandably frustrating for applicants, and it's one of the reasons why staying informed and taking proactive steps is so crucial right now. Which countries are affected? The Department of State has released a list of the 75 countries subject to this pause. The list includes nations from various regions, including parts of Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and some countries in other regions. If you're applying from one of these countries or you have family members or colleagues who are, you need to verify whether your specific country is on the list. The most reliable place to check is the official U.S. Department of State website or the website of the U.S. Embassy or consulate in your country. Do not rely solely on social media posts or unofficial sources for this information. Go directly to the official channels. As of the date I'm recording this, which is January 21st, 2026, the list remains in effect, but it's possible that updates or modifications could occur, which is why checking official sources regularly is essential. Let's talk about the background and context for this development because understanding why something is happening can help you make better decisions about how to respond. Over the past several years, U.S. immigration policy has undergone numerous changes, with different administrations prioritizing different aspects of border security, visa vetting, and international cooperation. Enhanced security screening has been a consistent theme across multiple administrations, particularly following global security concerns and evolving threats. The current pause appears to be part of a broader effort to standardize and strengthen the vetting process for visa applicants. Officials have stated that this includes reviewing security databases, updating interview protocols, and ensuring that consular officers have the tools and information they need to make informed decisions about visa eligibility. It's also worth noting that visa processing delays are not entirely new. Even before this pause, many embassies and consulates were experiencing backlogs due to pandemic-related closures, staffing shortages, and increased application volumes as travel resumed. What's different now is that this is an official, acknowledged pause affecting a specific group of countries rather than general processing delays. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State have emphasized that these measures are not targeted at any particular religion or ethnic group, but are based on security and administrative considerations. Regardless of the stated rationale, the practical impact on applicants is significant, and that's what we need to focus on. So, what does this mean for you if you have a visa application pending? If you've already submitted your application and you're waiting for an interview or a decision, your case is likely in a holding pattern right now. Consular officers are not scheduling new routine visa interviews for applicants from the affected countries, and pending cases are not being processed in the normal timeframe. However, and this is important, your application has not been denied. It's simply on pause. The fees you've paid remain valid, and your place in the queue should be preserved once processing resumes. That said, you should continue to monitor your case status through the Consular Electronic Application Center, also known as CEAC, which is the official portal for checking visa application status. Log in regularly to see if there are any updates or requests for additional information. If you have not yet applied, but you're planning to, you face a different set of considerations. You can still submit a visa application and pay the required fees, but you should be prepared for the possibility that your interview will not be scheduled in the near term. Some applicants are choosing to submit their applications now to secure their place in line, while others are waiting to see how the situation develops. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Your decision should depend on your specific circumstances, including your travel timeline, the urgency of your need to enter the U.S., and your financial situation. If you pay application fees and processing is delayed indefinitely, those fees are generally non-refundable, so you need to weigh that factor in your planning. Are there any exceptions to this pause? This is a critical question, and the answer is yes, there are exceptions, but they're limited. According to guidance from the Department of State, certain categories of visas may still be processed on a case-by-case basis, even during the pause. These include emergency situations such as urgent medical treatment in the U.S., funerals or serious illness of immediate family members, and certain urgent business or official government travel. Additionally, some diplomatic and official visas may continue to be processed. If you believe your case qualifies for an emergency exception, you need to contact the U.S. Embassy or consulate directly and provide documentation to support your request. Be prepared to demonstrate why your situation is truly urgent and cannot wait. Embassy and consulate staff will review these requests individually, and approval is not guaranteed, but it's worth pursuing if you have a legitimate emergency. Let's talk about what you can do right now, today, to protect your interests and stay prepared. First, gather and organize all your immigration documents. This includes your passport, previous visas, travel history, employment letters, financial documents, educational credentials, and any correspondence you've received from the Embassy or USCIS. Make copies and keep both physical and digital versions in a secure location. If and when processing resumes, you want to be ready to respond quickly to any requests for information or to attend an interview on short notice. Second, keep your contact information up to date. If the embassy or consulate needs to reach you, they'll use the email address and phone number you provided in your application. Make sure these are current and that you're checking them regularly. Set up email filters so that messages from official government domains don't end up in your spam folder. I've seen cases where applicants missed important notifications simply because they didn't see the email in time. Third, continue monitoring official sources for updates. Bookmark the U.S. Department of State website, specifically the visa section and the page for your country's embassy or consulate. Sign up for email alerts if that option is available. Follow official social media accounts for the embassy or consulate, as they sometimes post updates there as well. Be cautious about information from unofficial sources. There's a lot of speculation and misinformation circulating, and it's easy to get pulled into panic or false hope based on rumors. Stick to official channels and credible news outlets such as Reuters, Associated Press, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, and BBC when looking for context or analysis. Fourth, if you're working with an immigration attorney or a visa consultant, stay in close communication with them. They should be monitoring developments and can provide guidance specific to your case. If you're not currently working with a professional and your case is complex or high stakes, this might be a good time to consider consulting one. An experienced immigration attorney can help you understand your options, prepare your documentation, and navigate any exceptions or alternative pathways that might be available. Not every case requires an attorney, but if you're dealing with tight deadlines, employment sponsorship, family reunification with complicated circumstances, or prior immigration issues, professional guidance can be invaluable. Fifth, consider alternative options if they exist for your situation. For example, if you were planning to travel to the U.S. on a tourist visa, but you have family members who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents, you might explore whether a different visa category could be an option in the future. If you're a student and your program is willing to accommodate a delayed start, communicate with your school about your situation. If you're being sponsored by an employer, discuss the delay with your company and see if they can adjust timelines or support you in other ways. I'm not suggesting you abandon your current application, but it's wise to think through contingency plans. Let me give you a few scenarios to illustrate how different people might navigate this situation. Imagine you're a student from one of the affected countries, and you've been accepted to a U.S. university for the fall semester. You applied for your F1 student visa in early December, and your interview was scheduled for February. Then the pause is announced, and your interview is postponed indefinitely. What do you do? First, contact your university's International Student Office immediately. Explain the situation and ask about options. Many schools are familiar with visa delays and can work with you on deferring your enrollment or starting classes online if that's possible. Second, keep all your documentation ready, including your I-20 form, proof of financial support, and acceptance letter. Third, monitor the embassy website and your email for any updates about when interviews might resume. Fourth, if the pause extends close to your program's start date, you may need to make a difficult decision about deferring for a semester or exploring universities in other countries. But don't make that call prematurely. Stay in communication with your school and be ready to move quickly if processing resumes. Here's another scenario. You're a professional with a job offer from a U.S. company, and your employer has filed an H-1B petition on your behalf. The petition was approved, and you were preparing to attend your visa interview at the consulate. Now the pause affects your country, and you're in limbo. What steps should you take? First, inform your employer about the delay and stay in regular contact with their immigration team or attorney. Many companies have experience dealing with visa delays and may be able to adjust your start date or arrange for you to work remotely from your current location until the visa is processed. Second, ensure that your approved petition remains valid. H-1B approvals are typically valid for a specific period, and if the delay causes that period to lapse, you may need to work with your employer to extend or refile. Third, document everything related to the delay, including official announcements and correspondence with the consulate, in case you need to explain the situation to your employer or for future immigration applications. Fourth, explore whether there are other consulates in nearby countries where you might be able to interview if you're eligible to apply from a third country, but be aware that this option has limitations and you need to confirm your eligibility first. One more scenario. You're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you've petitioned for your spouse or parent to immigrate to the U.S. Your relative lives in one of the affected countries, and their immigrant visa interview has been postponed. This is deeply personal and emotional, and the uncertainty is painful. What can you do? First, reach out to the National Visa Center, which handles immigrant visa cases, and inquire about the status of your case and whether there are any updates or options available. Second, consider contacting your congressional representative. Members of Congress have constituent services offices that can sometimes make inquiries on behalf of constituents dealing with immigration delays. They can't override policy, but they can sometimes get information or flag urgent humanitarian cases. Third, continue to support your family member in maintaining their documentation and staying ready for when processing resumes. Fourth, consult with an immigration attorney about whether there are any legal avenues to expedite the case or address the delay, particularly if there are compelling humanitarian factors involved. Now let's address some of the questions and concerns that I know many of you have. One common question is whether this pause affects people who already have valid visas. The answer, based on current guidance, is no. If you already hold a valid U.S. visa and it has not expired, you should be able to continue using it to travel to the U.S. as long as the visa is still within its validity period and you continue to meet the conditions of that visa category. However, if your visa expires and you need to renew it, you would be subject to the current pause if you're applying from one of the affected countries. This is why, if your visa is approaching expiration and you have plans to travel to the U.S., you should be thinking ahead about renewal or alternative plans. Another question is whether this affects people who are already in the U.S. on valid visas or status. Again, the current pause is specifically about visa processing at consulates abroad. If you're in the U.S. on a valid visa or in a lawful status and you're not planning to travel outside the U.S., this pause does not directly affect your ability to stay in the U.S., provided you maintain your status and comply with all the terms and conditions. However, if you're in the U.S. and you travel abroad, you may face delays in getting a new visa to return, so you need to be very cautious about international travel during this period. If you're in the U.S. and your status is expiring soon, work with your employer or immigration attorney to file for extensions or changes of status within the U.S. so that you don't have to leave and risk being caught in the visa processing pause. People also ask whether there's anything they can do to speed up the process or get around the pause. Unfortunately, there's no legitimate shortcut or way to bypass official procedures. Be extremely wary of anyone who claims they can get you a visa quickly for a fee or through special connections. These are likely scams, and engaging with them can not only cost you money, but also jeopardize your immigration case and potentially lead to fraud allegations. The only legitimate pathways are through official channels, either by qualifying for an emergency exception, which I discussed earlier, or by waiting for the pause to be lifted. There's also concern about how long this might last. As I mentioned, the Department of State has not given a specific timeline. Based on similar measures in the past, these pauses can last anywhere from a few weeks to several months, depending on the complexity of the changes being implemented and the resources available to consular offices. I wish I could give you a definite answer, but the reality is that we need to monitor official announcements and be prepared for a range of possibilities. What I can tell you is that consular operations will eventually resume, and when they do, there will likely be a backlog of cases to process, so patience and preparation are going to be key. Let me also address the emotional and psychological toll that uncertainty like this can create. It's completely normal to feel anxious, frustrated, or even angry when your plans are disrupted and your future feels uncertain. Immigration processes are inherently stressful, and delays compound that stress. Please take care of your mental and emotional well-being during this time. Stay connected with your support network, whether that's family, friends, or community groups. Seek accurate information rather than getting caught in cycles of worry based on rumors. If you're feeling overwhelmed, consider speaking with a counselor or therapist who can help you manage the stress. Your well-being matters, and taking care of yourself will help you make clearer decisions and stay resilient through the waiting period. I also want to emphasize the importance of staying engaged and informed about the broader policy landscape. Immigration policy can change, and it often does, based on political developments, security assessments, international agreements, and other factors. What's true today may not be true in 3 months. That's not meant to alarm you, but to encourage you to be proactive and adaptable. Subscribe to reliable news sources, follow updates from advocacy organizations that work on immigration issues, and stay educated about your rights and options. The more you understand the system, the better equipped you'll be to navigate it. Before we wrap up, let me give you a brief disclaimer because this is important. Everything I've shared with you today is informational and educational in nature. It's based on publicly available information from official government sources and credible news outlets as of January 25, 2026. Immigration policy can and does change, sometimes rapidly. What I've described here reflects the situation as we understand it right now, but it's not a substitute for personalized legal advice. Every immigration case is unique, and the specifics of your situation, your country, your visa category, and your personal circumstances all matter. I strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified immigration attorney or accredited representative for advice specific to your case. You can find a list of accredited representatives through the Department of Justice's Executive Office for Immigration Review or through reputable legal organizations. When choosing an attorney, make sure they're licensed to practice immigration law, check their credentials, and be cautious of anyone making guarantees or promises that sound too good to be true. So where do we go from here? The key takeaway from today's discussion is this. Yes, the pause in visa processing for 75 countries is a significant development, and yes, it's creating uncertainty and delays. But you are not powerless in this situation. You have concrete steps you can take to stay prepared, protect your case, and position yourself to move forward as soon as processing resumes. Stay organized, stay informed, stay connected with official sources and professional advisors, and take care of yourself through the waiting period. This is a moment that calls for patience, resilience, and proactive planning. I want to close by reminding you why Immigration News Today exists. Our mission is to provide you with clear, accurate, and timely information about the U.S. immigration system so that you can make informed decisions and navigate this complex landscape with confidence. Immigration affects real lives, real families, and real dreams, and you deserve to have access to trustworthy guidance. If this video has been helpful to you, please take a moment to like it and share it with anyone else who might benefit from this information. Your support helps us reach more people who need reliable immigration news and guidance. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Immigration News Today and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos. We'll continue to monitor this situation closely and bring you updates as soon as new information becomes available. Remember, you can find links to official resources in the description below this video, including the Department of State Visa Information page, the CEAC portal for checking your application status, and guidance on finding qualified immigration attorneys. These resources are there to support you, and I encourage you to use them. Thank you so much for watching today. I know this is a challenging time, and I'm grateful that you've trusted Immigration News Today to help you understand what's happening and what you can do about it. Stay strong, stay informed, and know that you're not alone in this journey. We're here with you every step of the way, and we'll continue to bring you the information and support you need. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.